Welcome to the LoreWars preview stream and podcast. My name is Doug Carlson. I am your Dungeon Master and host. And with me is Sean.
Hiya.
And not the rest of the party, actually. We have a special episode kind of planned for tonight. Before I touch in on that, we have on my screen right now, just for a little teaser, and this will be used as the thumbnail, so for people who are just listening, you'll be able to see it on the thumbnail, is our official LoreWars art for the SteamMech race, which Oros, played by Sean, is a member of. Some news in the workings is by the time this comes out, I should have the first physical copy of LoreWars in my hands, which I will post on my Twitter account, or on the LoreWars Twitter account, as well as my personal one, for people to be able to see what that looks like. But it's a kind of a beta book that they are sending me to see how they like the print quality and stuff like that. So I'm excited about that. Also, we have a I'm in the works of trying to get us a guest through other podcasts, actual play podcasts. I'm looking at Pathfinder and D&D mostly, but other, maybe Call of Cthulhu or whatever. But if anyone knows anybody looking to maybe guest star or something like that, shoot me a message on my Twitter account. I say it at the end of the episode, but the LoreWars Twitter account is at LoreWarsRPG, and it's always usually in the descriptions for our videos and podcasts. But yeah, I've been talking to the people at Dungeons and Randomness, and the leader guy of that and I have been in talkings, and we thought maybe this episode he was going to premiere in as a guest. But unfortunately he had things come up, so we're hashing out maybe a future plan. But we still appreciate the support, and it's all about outreach right now. So tonight we are going to dive into the backstory of Oros a little bit. So that's why I kind of started off on the SteamMech artwork here. One more thing, actually, before we get going. I had a real cool chance for me and some other people who've never played the game. I've started an actual in-person game, using
Cool.
back to the start of like poster board with drawing a grid on it and markers, and then figurines that never quite match the characters that we're using, but they're and this is a completely unsponsored call out, but for people who do want miniatures and stuff like that, I highly recommend going to Hero Forge. You can completely customize everything on a miniature there. I haven't used them, but I've always, once in a while, I hop on their site and I scroll through how they have just so many options. It's crazy, and so that's really neat. But yeah, I'm in the middle of playing a campaign in person with some friends who've never played the game before, and it's a lot of fun to see them because people who've never played a tabletop RPG, it's always hard to get comfortable enough where you're thinking about the character rather than your player knowledge. And so it was funny to see the transition. I had in the story, these players kind of get invited into this house party, and then slowly but surely realize there's something malicious happening. And so one of the players went off and did their own thing and got drugged and knocked out and kind of dragged away. And the other two members of the party, when they found out that would happen, they started getting into the game. And this is about an hour into our session already. And they started getting really into it. Like, the jokes kind of culled down. And it was like more like, oh shit, like what are we actually gonna do about this? And it was really neat to see. And it's to the point where like we played for 4.5 hours. It was like 6 to 10:30, and they were like, yeah, let's do this every weekend. So I'm pretty stoked about that.
Awesome.
Being able to play in person again is something nostalgic. Um, but yeah, it just, yeah, I posted a picture on my Twitter of us, the board. It's a crudely drawn map on a poster board, but it was so much fun having some beers and playing around a table, an actual tabletop, um, with the game, especially again with new players.
Yeah, man.
I love it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So yeah, let's dive into Oros's backstory. So we're gonna take it back, I would say about 10 or so years before our adventure began, and it might be a little sooner than that. That's just my kind of estimation, but it might have actually been like 5 years. But it's definitely been over like 2 or 3 years, and Oros is on the island of Blackgate, which I can pull up a realm map really quick. Um, so everyone on the video can see at least. If I can find art, maybe guidebook.
Theoretically, possibly.
Maybe I don't know where I put my maps, but so he's on the island of Blackgate. These are dungeon maps. I don't see just regular maps. So he is in the. Yeah, I don't see it here. This is a picture, actually on the website, of a painting of Blackgate itself, that I brought up on the video, and I can grab this, and I'll throw it in Discord for you to see, Sean.
Mm-hmm.
Bloop. So that's a painting of the actual island, Blackgate, but it's an island in the southwest corner of the realm, and it's rather large, and they are populated by two main factions, two clans. Now these clans, rumor has it, they are derivated from one master of kind of like a genetic inherent magic ability, and so rumors go back and forth, but some people say that it is Abed, one of the Triad of Death, which is a legendary group of kind of villains, from the first kind of era of the universe. And they say that this man got sealed away, but his offspring kind of gained two sides of his power, where one clan uses alpha magic. And alpha magic is the defensive version, where they can cloak themselves in a magic armor that is tougher than any kind of metal or known substance.
Sweet.
And then the other side of the clan is can use beta magic, which is the offensive side of the clan's originator's power. And beta magic is something weird because it attacks carbon within living organisms. So it's kind of mostly geared towards attacking living tissues, or organic matter, I should say, attacking the carbon and things. And so with these two abilities, they say like the originator of the two clans had both, but his offspring have derived into two clans, one using one of each. And so the problem that's kind of persistent in Blackgate is that the alpha users clan kind of have superiority over the beta users, because the beta users, it attacks living or organic matter, which can't really penetrate the alpha magic armor. So if there's ever a dispute, the alpha users tend to win, and that creates some
Gotcha.
tension. Now, that being set aside for a minute, there also happens to be Blackgate happens to be the central force of where the SteamMechs come from. Um, so if I have my lore correct, the SteamMechs were created after a gem dragon, which is one of the 5 original dragons, attacked the city, and so they created SteamMechs in a way to defend the city. And so SteamMechs kind of split off into two variations of themselves, which we talked about when we introduced your character, where one love and protect, mortals pretty much, and humans,
Right.
and the other kind of rebel and turn into almost pirates. Because Blackgate is an island, it is very seafaring, like effective. So a lot of them go off and be pirates, where a lot of other ones tend to be royal guards and stuff for the city. So that's where Oros comes in. Um, Oros is a not high tier warrior in the city, but he's part of a good troop of knights or guards that he's been doing pretty much his whole life. Um, and so there are two other people in your troop. I first introduce Amberstein. Amberstein is a sharpshooter. She uses a flintlock pistol, and she is a very tall and lean SteamMech. She wears like a brown duster, and she is always has her like a black um, hat on, almost like a cowboy hat. Then,
Cool.
then your other partner is Grogcoin. Now, Grogcoin is a much beefier, almost like round robot. Still pretty tall, but very much, much wider. And he wears a blue cape. His metal is his body. He believes is durable, so armor isn't really necessary. And he wields a great hammer. And then there is you, which we've talked about, who uses magic. And
Right.
so the three of you often go, you patrol, you sometimes help bring ships in, you sometimes go help grab like supplies from the mainland and bring them back. You've had a pretty good life so far of just being a successful guard. Nothing really problematic with it. Um, until one day, your chief or like wise the chief. So there you can imagine like each part of the city is kind of broken up into a sector, and that sector has a chief that runs all the guards in that sector. And your chief happens to be Chief Ironheart, and Ironheart tells you he brings you in for a briefing one day. And he tells you he has a special mission for you today. That the three of you are going to escort a clan member of the two clans that I mentioned to the mainland to do some kind of negotiation or whatnot. And he then brings in a man who he is a red-haired humanoid with curly red hair. He's wearing kind of a green squire outfit, and you see a small, like, short sword on his hip, and a little, like, buckler shield on his back. And he comes in, and Ironheart says, "This is Velter Hashim. He is the a one of the higher members of the Hashim clan. And you would know that the Hashim are the ones who use beta magic, the offensive version of
Right.
the magic I spoke of. And he says, Velter just needs to go across the river to the mainland, and then go north up into Malian. Up in Malian, you will. Now, as I talked about in the beginning of our campaign, Malian is just south of Eldrex, and it is a peaceful, more nature-based country that is very oriented around like tribesmanship and self-governing through their tribes. Um,
Right.
so he says up in the south border of Malian, he's going to be making a trade of some sort or a negotiation. It's kind of vague of what he's talking about. But to you city guards, this is nothing new. It's nothing weird. You're like, absolutely, that's what we do.
Right.
Now I would like to touch a little bit on the characters. Grogcoin is the leader of the group. He's very strong, very powerful, very strong-willed, charismatic, and he drinks quite heavily. He always is chugging down ale or booze of some sort. Um, then there is Amberstein. Now Amberstein is kind of the smarts of the party, very witty, and kind of does the scouting ahead. And then, to be honest, like Oros is almost the weaker of all three of you, who, you are more in tune with magic, which is kind of difficult. Like you have to.
Right.
The way that that SteamMechs have to approach magic is so much different by like almost engraving. Some people engrave runes and stuff onto your armor or onto your metal body to be able to acquire the magics, because it's hard for you as this kind of this crafted creature to naturally attune to magic. And so, though you do use it, and like you're more the utility class in this party, where you can use your void magics to teleport Amberstein or Grogcoin into proper positions. Maybe you can heal them or to provide support damage.
Right.
But either way, like it's not a harsh relationship. All three of you understand your parts in this squad, and you're all good friends. Like there's no bad vibes between any of you. But yeah, he tells you what to do. And so you guys set out, and probably within a day's time, you guys get ready. You get a ship to get together. You get all the supplies on the ship, and you sail across the river pretty successfully. Velveter stays to himself. He kind of stays in his cabin, and you guys, do what you are around the ship. Grogcoin is probably drinking, watching the waves. Amberstein's probably like taking apart her gun and cleaning each part of the flintlock pistol. And you might be like studying or something up on your magics. And eventually you hit the mainland within probably a day or two, and you guys depart. From here, you guys are right next to the your person, Velveter, who walks hand in hand, like not hand in hand, but walks right next to you guys, and is looking at a map quite often. And he's like, oh yeah, it should just be a day's journey or so north from here. And you guys follow kind of the west coast up the map for a little bit, and then start heading into the landscape turns from like this sandy kind of dunes into grass, and then into like forest, and then into like dense forest. And over the span of a year, in the span of a day, you guys get into the thick jungle area.
Just walking forever and ever, years on end.
For about a day or so, you get the next day. You guys probably camp out somewhere, easy, no issues, and then you continue heading north into the woods. And then something peculiar happens where you guys are walking through the woods and you hear kind of these ropes sliding across almost what sounds like pulleys. And what you notice is people jumping out of the trees around you, holding on to ropes and pulleys. And as they jump to the ground, these wooden spiked walls rise up out of the brushery around you and kind of encage you. And yeah, we're gonna go on to the Roll20 page.
Bum, 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 bum.
If I can get there. There we go. And you wind up here where you're surrounded by 6 guys. You're in the back here. This is Grogcoin. This is Amberstein. And your guy, Velveter, he kind of steps over towards the wall. And he starts to kind of do one of those monologue things where he's like,
Oh, one of those.
yeah, one of those. He's like, unfortunately, you guards have led me here and did well, but you will still serve a purpose for Blackgate. As he says this, he holds out his hand, and you see this orange-red kind of ball of energy form in his palm, and then stretch out into a long spear-like projectile. And he says, you see, we think here that in the Hashim clan that we have taken the beta magic and successfully added the elements we need to it to be able to damage inorganic matter as well as organic matter. And the best way to test this was to take 3 inorganic metal humanoids like yourselves and bring you out here where, unfortunately we were ambushed and you 3 had to perish, saving my life. So don't worry, you'll be heroes back in Blackgate for saving my life. And as he says this, he hurls the spear at Grogcoin, and he hurls the spear at Grogcoin. It hits him in the chest, and he takes a step back, and seems very surprised and shaken up. And he says, "What?" He's like, "What is all this? How dare you attack the city guard?" And you guys are now in combat.
Oof. Okay.
Give me 1 second here. I forgot some stats. There we go. Okay. So first up is going to be Grogcoin. Oh, I'm sorry. No, you. You have an 18,
I was about
right?
to say, 18. I was about to say, this is one brave individual.
Yeah, you're up first.
Okay, so this is the gentleman with whom has betrayed us?
Correct.
Okay. So I'm gonna go, you betrayed the city of Blackgate. And I'm going to run over. What is the range on this? Range is 5. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm going to fire Vector Arrow at him.
Okay.
Which is now cosmic damage because of my fancy level 5 ability. It is a casting roll 1 to 10. It's a major action. I got 2 new abilities. One's Vector Arrow Wrap, one's Vector Arrow Push, which are both minor actions. Are those things that I do when Vector Arrow hits as a major action, or is...
Nope, there are other things
just secondary
you can do.
minor actions?
Yeah, you can do them before, like you can wrap somebody up and then attack them, or push them back and then attack them.
Got it. Okay, so I'm going to, in that case, I'm going to try to Vector Arrow Wrap this bad boy.
Sure. Roll a...
which is also run 1 to 10.
Yeah. All right, You clap your hands together, and a black arrow forms around his feet and curls up around his body, holding him tight.
And then I'm going to shoot him with a good old-fashioned vector arrow, which is, again, a 1 to 10 casting roll, which does not succeed. Unfortunate.
And then it is Grogcoin's turn. He turns and he goes over here. He is going to attack him with Hermer.
Whack!
Whack. Where? And yeah, he hits him hard, very, very hard. Amberstein takes a step back to back behind you, turns around and is going to shoot with her pistol at this gentleman, dealing some good damage to him. Because I think she was up next. I don't know if I did that right. Yep. Then it's all these guys' turns. So he is going to... He does the same thing where he gets a red ball of energy and it kind of forms into a spear, and he jams it into Amberstein, or into Grogcoin. And this time it goes through his body. You see it definitely punctures him instead of just kind of pushing him back.
Ouch.
Yeah. Then this guy steps forward, and he's going to do a similar attack if he can. He gets it. And he shoots him, and it kind of hits him in the side. This one doesn't pierce his body, but it definitely pushes him over a bit, and it hurts for sure. This one steps forward and is going to try the same exact thing, but he doesn't get it, so he's just going to attack. Whoop, wrong one. So he runs up and instead of the ball doesn't work, so he just wraps his hand in that energy and strikes at Amberstein, still doing some good damage. This one's gonna step up and also attack Amberstein, getting it. Just gotta do math. You see him run up this. He creates the orange-red ball in his hand, and it forms into a spear. And he chucks it, and this strikes her in the side, going completely through her, and you see her collapse behind you. This one steps up in front and there, and he's going to attack you.
Ow!
He gets the spear attack, and it's going to hit you for 12 damage.
12 damagios.
Correct. The main guy, Velter, steps up, and he's just gonna strike you with some.
Is he currently wrapped, or is that only last?
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. He broke.
No, you're fine.
He actually broke free with that. Here, I'll be fair. I'll do it again. This is a physical action to see if he can break out. He gets
Which
up.
he does. Yep. Okie dokie.
1, 2, 3, 4, and then he's gonna end his turn by striking you with a 8 damage.
Okay.
And then the last guy, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let 4 from here, 5. He's gonna do the spear attack on you if he can roll for it. He does, and that's going to be a lot of damage. That's gonna be
Oof.
64 damage.
Woo-hoo-hoo. Okay, so that'll leave me. 66.
It is now top of the round, so it's your turn.
Okay, I'm going to. So Oros, noticing his companion effectively just die. He'll just he screams. He just goes, "No, no!" and runs over to his other companion. And I have the ability to teleport people.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the things I can do that are so wonderful. I'm gonna. We gotta. Here, I'm gonna get you out of here.
He looks over and sees that Amberstein fell, and he says, "It would be a disgrace to leave these people." And he does not want to teleport out of the situation.
Okay. Well, in that case, he goes, "Fine." So I turn back to this dude.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna try to do vector arrow push. Just push him away from me.
Sure.
Which does succeed. So he pushes
Yeah,
back.
You
3.
an arrow. An arrow
also does-
forms at his feet and like glows blue as he's thrown in the air backwards.
Yep. That also does basic damage.
Sure. Go ahead and roll. Okay.
And then I'm also going to shoot a vector arrow at this person, or attempt to, rather, as a major action, which does not succeed. Damn it!
Jeez. All right. This guy comes up.
Oros was incredibly distracted by Amberstein's death.
Right. Grogcoin comes around, swinging his hammer violently.
Woof.
Smacks him real
Good night,
hard.
sweet prince.
He's actually not dead yet, but he's close. He then uses a physical action, but doesn't get it, unfortunately. And then it is these guys' turns. So the one he just attacks is going to attack back. What's that? Something like that. These two rush him, each attacking.
Damn, these casting rolls.
Right. This one attacks him. They're all just striking him with.
God. Casual, never miss.
They're all just striking with like orange, like aura, orange reddish aura on their hands. This is the one guy that didn't use his spear, but two of these guys are gonna hit you with the basic hand attacks. Wow, one gets 51 damage on you.
Oof.
Jeez, and the other one gets 39 damage.
So that puts me. Okay, 59 is reduced by my defense, which is that, which is 20. Yeah, I'm super down.
Okay, you kind of faint and like blurring in and out of consciousness. You see them all ganging up on Grogcoin, and he like is doing hammer spins and like hitting him back and stuff. But eventually, one conjures up the spear and like hits him in the back of the knee. He falls to his knees, and another one comes up and like strikes him with the orange attack like right on his head and kills him. You hear him talking. He's like, "Well, it seems to work even on inorganic creatures. As it punctured them, it's powerful enough to just do raw damage." And he's like, "Take down the walls and let the animals tear apart their bodies." Or let the tribesmen around here find their bodies and scrap them. We'll head back for Blackgate, and they all kind of disappear. Within a few hours, like within an hour or so, you're like I said, you're kind of fading in and out of consciousness. You might crawl over to one of the dead bodies slowly to check on them. They are 100% dead, both of them. And then suddenly you like go out permanently, or for like a deep blackout, and you wake up to the smell of a campfire. and you find yourself kind of in a little tent with a small Farsighter by your side, and he's like, "Oh, you're awake. What can I? What happened to you?"
Oros just kind of sighs and shakes his head. It's like, well, hubris, I guess.
He said, "Are you from Blackgate?"
Yeah.
He says, would you like to? Can I help you? We found you pretty badly wounded in the forest with two other SteamMechs, but the other two unfortunately were completely gone."
It's like, I don't know. I gotta get back. I guess. I've gotta tell the commander.
So, I mean, would you like to communicate? We can do a crystal here, and you can talk to whomever might be able to talk to you.
Yeah, if you would, that'd be great. Thanks.
He leaves the tent for a minute and comes back with a blue, rather large stone, like the size of a bowling ball, and he places it on the ground and he says, what's your commander's name?"
Would I know?
Yeah,
Like,
I told you in the beginning. It was
yeah.
Ironheart.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Commander Ironheart.
he says, "Okay," and he's on Blackgate. You said.
Last I knew, yeah.
He holds out his hands and thinks. You see kind of like purple magical like bubbles kind of coming off and slowly dissipating on this crystal, until finally you see a familiar face in the crystal. After a few minutes, it is a silvery SteamMech with a. It looks like he has a beard almost, but they're at like white cables that are kind of draped around him, almost like dreadlocks. It's
That's dope.
right. It's he's real cool looking. Almost think of like Ahsoka from Star Wars. He has kind of like those, but like a bunch of like cables kind of coming out of the top of his head and draping down his neck and around his chin. And he says, "What He's like, "What happened, Oros?"
What was the name of the guy we
Velter.
were escorting?
Velter was the guy you transported.
Okay. It's like Velter betrayed us. He found some way to harness the beta magic, make it harm us.
He thinks for a minute. He says, It's best you don't come back to Blackgate then."
What do you mean?
He says,
It's my home.
"Listen." He says, one of two things will happen if you come home. One, you'll cause an upset, a riot, and a clan war between the two clans will happen, and which will harm all of Blackgate. Or two, you will be called a traitor, a liar, and they will take his side on the matter and simply execute you. He says, "It's best that you stay out of Blackgate, and we will keep an eye on Velter and see what we can do about it."
I think Oros at that point would like. How close would you say his relationship with the commander have been? Like, is it like, would they have known? I mean, obviously, I've probably known him for a while.
So like your relationship is strictly professional.
Okay.
But at the same time, he's like one of those really wise figures that you can tell like he pondered about this, and he generally has your best your best interests at heart. And furthermore, he's like you sincerely believe that he believes you and will keep an eye on Velter. Like if you're doing this in the idea of like foul play, there's not a shred of doubt in his loyalty.
Right. Okay. Well, in that case, Oros would just like, well, hey, if you think that that's what's best.
He says you might think about traveling north. Maybe your powers will lie more valuable to the Wolf Knights in the north, which you've obviously heard of. The Wolf Knights everyone has in this area, um, to the countries north of you. And he gives you a solid like fist over the heart type salute, and the picture fades. The Farsighter takes the crystal away and comes back with some food and some drink. And in the drink, he says, this is some natural blueberry wine that we've made. The We drink mostly wines and malts around here because in the swamplands the water tends to be more toxic, so we brew it into alcohol for our safety. And you're eating, and you look at the glass of wine, and you kind of have a flashback to one of the first missions or like days training with Grogcoin and Amberstein, and you see Grogcoin just chugging away beers, and you tell him to stop. You're like, hey man, knock it off, and he's like, oh, you need to loosen up, you got to be nice and loosened and limbered and not be afraid when running into battle, and tries to hand you beer. And you're like, the alcohol impairs my judgment and will make it harder to control my magic, and you push it back away from him. And you really have never had a drink for a very, very, very long time because of that. It impairs your magic. However, in this moment of kind of grievance and like utter defeat, and maybe like purposeful, like your purpose is kind of missing right now, you just kind of drink it. And this slowly turns into a very slow, because like again, you kind of Ironheart pointed you towards a direction. Maybe you want to head north, but like you're dragging your feet the whole way, of like stopping at every little encampment. Every time you kind of explore all there is to explore of Malian, the country, and the whole time you're drinking and drinking and drinking and trying, like at first it's just trying different wines, but eventually it becomes almost a dependency. And to the fact that like you start losing magical powers, and your vector arrows abilities kind of fade on you, and the most you can really do is you use your runes at their base level of void powers. And you do this for almost a year or two of just traveling through Malian, and eventually you find yourself somehow up in Aldrex, where you hear from a local inn that you're hanging out about the Wolf Knights, and it kind of dings in you like, oh yeah, that's what I was gonna do. That's what Ironheart told me to do. And so you kind of ask of where they're out of, and they say Virgin City, on the right in the middle of Aldrex, but on the coast. And so you start making your way there, and you're just kind of following the coastline until one day you find yourself in Virgin City on the coast, and you go to the closest tavern or bar, which happens to be the Heart of the Flogan Inn, where you walk in and you see a shadowy figure on the and a small moth lady, as well as all the scene I described in the beginning of our episodes.
Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun.
And I'm an asshole.
So yeah, that's kind of to put into perspective of where Oros comes from. And yeah, it was kind of fun writing this story, because I was like, I like that you're a comic relief, but like I wanted to add some depth to your character.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of like he definitely has a past, and kind of like I guess the drinking is definitely, he tries to pass it off as being less than it is, but
Right.
There's definitely some sadness going on there, that
Exactly.
he doesn't necessarily let on.
But yeah, I want to talk about this too a little bit. It's like being a dungeon master and stuff like that in our guidebooks, or in our books. for like this kind of backstory is never written in any adventure book or any campaign book, at least that I've written so far, where I don't force feed somebody a backstory. I kind of go with, think of whatever you want, and we'll go from there. And so for a podcast, it kind of dawned on me, like, when we have to make episodes, you know, it's like, what do viewers want to hear? Well, maybe viewers want to hear the explanation of why this character is the way they are. And furthermore, it's like maybe a player wants to explore that. And so, as a dungeon master tip to kind of people who might play Lore Wars in the future, or even any tabletop RPG, honestly, is that take a break from your sessions one night and just kind of maybe explore the players' backstories, because that can be just as fun as pursuing some evil wizard with a ring that will destroy the world or whatever. It's it can be just as fun, and it's not directively written in story of like, okay, now it's doing a whole side adventure about somebody's backstory. um,
Definitely.
but it's for us. I wanted to explore it, give a good nice little episode for that. The idea is to do I don't exactly know the orders of the episodes, but I know the next two we are recording, or the two episodes to come that aren't released, including this one, are recording in the same week. And so one of these are going to be released the day after Christmas. In that case, happy Christmas to everyone. If you celebrate a different holiday, happy holidays to those. And I hope you got everything you wanted. If it's not, then Christmas is in like a couple days, so get excited for that. Um, and yeah, keep an eye on our Twitter feed. Like I said, I'm constantly in contact right now of trying to get some more popular podcasts to maybe do a guest appearance with us, or maybe I go on their show, or maybe even just cross-referencing. I will again reference Dragon or Dungeons and Randomness. Go listen to their stuff after you've listened to ours, and support them if you want. It's good stuff, and he's super nice. I believe his name is Jason, and him and I talked for a good while about the game. I showed him some stuff. He was super interested in being a guest, but he's a busy man, so it's hard to pin down an exact recording. It's hard enough to get my own cast in line, let alone someone else's cast.
Yeah.
But yeah, these two episodes, this is the backstory episode, and we are continuing the story in the next episode, which hopefully is recorded this week. So keep an eye out for whatever future content's coming out. I believe this will be the second one to be released, so hopefully you've already heard the continuation of the story, and you're hearing this the day after Christmas. And again, keep an eye out on the Twitter for the physical copy of Lore Wars, because I'm super, super stoked to get that. So yeah, if you want to follow us, we usually stream on Twitch. Unfortunately, this episode, like I said, we're kind of pre-recording so that my cast and I have Christmas week off. But we usually stream every Thursday night on Twitch. It's twitch.tv/LoreWarsRPG, I believe. Our Twitter is at LoreWarsRPG. On our Twitter account, on my profile, is the website as well as the Twitch account. After we go live, I uploaded it to YouTube after a little editing magic. After YouTube, it goes to all the podcast sites of Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, Castbox, and a ton of others. Something cool to note is that we did, as of last episode, or episode 6, we hit over 300 views or listens, and that's not including Spotify and Apple Podcasts, because I'm still searching to how to find the stats on those. I found something that was telling me about Spotify stats, but all the stats were 0, which I know is a lie, because I re-listen to the episodes on Spotify, as well as I know a few other people who do on Spotify. So I don't know if they update it like every other month or something. I don't know what's going on there, so I'm waiting. I'm kind of digging around further on that. And then for the Apple Podcasts, I haven't been able to dig up the stats on that yet. Um, Again, the beginning of this episode played by a song. I linked his information on episode 6. I might reference it again here. This should be, like I said, episode 8, hopefully. If it's not, it'll be episode 7, whatever. But Gabe Birkby, uh, single artist Birkby, his band is Pound of the Giraffe. He is on Spotify. He did our intro song and it's flippin' amazing. He's making other songs for me that we're kind of hashing out of like tavern music or battle music or sad music, stuff like that. And we're still kind of polishing those up. But yeah, I think that'll do her for now.
Awesome.
Have a good night and thank you for joining me.